Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Facebook Live today. Today, we are lucky enough to have joining us Felicia Chew. She is going to be sharing with us today all of her knowledge and expertise about working with patients who are going through or experiencing dementia in the home setting. So, Felicia, welcome. We're really excited to have you today. Felicia, I know you've been out working in the world of OT for many, many years. Can you tell us all a little bit about your clinical background and your experience, particularly when working with this patient population? Congratulations.
That population with dementia really holds a special place in my heart because they're the ones that truly need us to be their advocates and to recognize their needs because they may not be able to express what they need or what they want. So they're near and dear to my heart. So, in my career in long term care, obviously, I saw those individuals who were in the facilities, and that was their home, as well as I saw individuals with dementia who went back home with their loved ones to be cared for in their home. And then I have some personal experience with individuals with dementia, good friend's mother, another good friend's mother. So I've got that broad exposure to the world of dementia.
Great. So, in all of your experience, I know you've probably through the years found different assessment tools that you found helpful to your practice to really kind of zero in on what are the strengths and weaknesses of each individual person to help you create treatment plans and goals that really meet their needs. Can you tell us a little bit about what tools and resources you've used over the years?
So, as an OT, one of my probably one of my best tools in my toolkit is my use of self and my ability to engage that individual with dementia in conversation, in activity, so I can get a real sense of what their skills may or may not be. I've also found it very helpful to have the family involved. That family interview or primary caregiver, whoever the primary caregiver may be, they really can shed some light onto how the individual was performing before a setback, before any illness or change in their condition. So clearly, it's myself and my interview and observation skills. But then I also like standardized tests and measures as well. Um, I have found using the brief cognitive assessment tool, the BCAT, to be incredibly helpful in focusing my greater evaluation. So for me, doing the BCAT and finding out if someone is mild cognitive impairment or early stage or moderate stage dementia then directs me into where I should be looking at their skills and where I may be seeing a breakdown in skill or performance. So I may use the BCAT as my primary or the kitchen picture test if somebody is going home in terms of safety. And then it lets me move on to the performance assessment of self care skills, or it lets me move into the cognitive performance test. So it's the combination of assessments, standardized assessments that you really need. You have to have a broad repertoire of skills. But what I found is my gateway is the brief cognitive assessment tool. So that is my foundation for where I start.
Okay, great. I know you mentioned looking at both cognition as well as practical judgment as foundational skills for functional performance. And I know today, in this world that we're in, a lot of folks are at home managing a loved one who is experiencing dementia. And the caregivers sometimes are struggling with finding that balance between being able to allow that person to continue to do daily routine tasks that they find meaningful, that they enjoy, but also balancing that with keeping them safe and sort of modifying tasks or finding ways around some of the deficits that they might be experiencing. So it's really kind of a balancing act between the two components of helping someone successfully age in place and be independent, but also keeping them safe and making sure that they're able to do all that they need to do for that individual. Can you tell us a little bit about how do they find that balance and what might be some go-to treatment approaches that could help support, keeping them independent, but also keeping them safe and sound?
So I will start and I will say this. I think one of a key factor in terms of safety and keeping someone in the home successfully and aging in place in their own environment is, in fact, a good home based OT evaluation. I can't stress that enough, whether you have it through insurance or private consultant and case management, whatever the case may be, that in home, in the environment evaluation is really critical because that's where you see the individual perform at their peak because they know that environment. Um, you know, I can evaluate someone in an outpatient clinic, I can evaluate someone in a rehab unit, and I'm going to see something a little bit different. So, getting that good baseline evaluation in the home is critical. And then it's about knowing what skills the individual still has, what stage of dementia they're in, what skills they continue to have, and maximizing those skills. And probably the best thing I can do is give you some examples
That'd be
and,
great.
and talk about where things break down and where you can modify or adjust. Um, we all have dishwashers. Most people have dishwashers these days. And under your sink is where you hold all your dishwasher soaps and liquids. And some people have edible items under their sinks. You know, right there, we've got a problem. We've got to move cleaning supplies and separate them from oil and other food items that are under your sink. So that's part one. Um, my very dear friend's mother was running the dishwasher. So she saw the dishwasher liquid and she put the dishwasher liquid in the dishwasher like she normally does, except she put in the dish soap.
Oops.
So now we have bubbles all over the kitchen and now we've got a fall because it was slippery. So what's your solution? Your solution is don't put the dishwasher soap next to the dish soap. Use dishwasher tablets. Or if you're that concerned about it, put a safety lock on it. Do something to remove that potential environmental risk. Um, simple things like we all know what happens when you put tin foil or aluminum foil in the microwave. Sparks, fire. So the easiest answer is don't have aluminum foil in the house. Remove the obstacle. Um, Cooking is always another one. Everybody's knobs come off their stove. So you could pull the knobs, hide the knobs, and then cook with your loved one so that they're safe in that situation, if that makes sense. And then another thing, excuse me, Another challenge that we always hear, aside from the safety, and if you think about it, when do most people get in trouble? When they're bored, when they're understimulated, and they're looking for something to do.
Right.
So, part of the key in keeping someone safe is keeping them engaged. And what can you keep them engaged in? So, in order to do that, you really have to have an appreciation and an understanding for who that individual is and what they enjoy. Couple situations that I can think of. During the pandemic, my friend said to me, and her mother lives in the house with her. She said she's driving us crazy. She's wandering. She's, falling. She's getting into things. We've got real issues. I'm going to go out and buy some jigsaw puzzles. And I said to her, okay, has your mother ever done a jigsaw puzzle in her life? And she said, no, never. But I figured now's a good time to start. I said, wrong answer. She's not going to know what to do with a jigsaw puzzle at the stage of dementia she's in. She's not learning new skills. But her mother loves makeup, loves jewelry, and she's got tons of it. So every day the jewelry bins come out and she's able to sort her jewelry, and she tries on her jewelry, and she boxes up the jewelry. She puts her makeup on, she organizes her makeup. And those are things that have intrinsic meaning to her. Doing Sudoku puzzles or jigsaw puzzles or anything like that is not going to have meaning to that individual. I will say that the Mempix books from BCAT are a great way to engage someone in conversation and reminiscing and really pull them into conversation. So you have to know that individual to know how to engage them and what's going to keep them safe and what's meaningful to them.
I love these examples that you're sharing. And I think the topic of meaningful engagement is a really important one. You mentioned the Mempix books. They do have a picture, prompting questions, fun facts, and stories. So that's a nice opportunity to find something there within those options that that person might like to engage in. So that's a really good
Well,
example.
and I also think that those books can be very beneficial for the families and the caregivers who are struggling with the change in their loved ones. I don't know how to talk to my mom anymore. I don't know what my dad wants anymore. How can my kids don't want to go visit their grandmother? You hear those conversations and it breaks your heart because they say things like it's not the same person, but it is. And that person's in there, and you just have to find that way to relate to them. So, all of those prompts and all of that opportunity in the Mempix books is really, you know what? It's a gift that gives not only to the individual with dementia, but it also gives to the family because it gives them focus. So now they're not just sitting feeling awkward, but they're engaged.
Yes, I love that. I know in observing some family interactions, sometimes they run out of questions to ask, right? How are you? What have you been doing? How's school? And you're kind of out of questions or things to talk about. So it's nice to have a joint activity that is going to facilitate conversation and discussion, and like you said, maybe going back and talking about an experience or a time in their life that they enjoyed, to really kind of embrace something that is meaningful to them and provides an activity like you mentioned earlier, that's structured, so that maybe the caregiver has to throw some laundry in, and the grandkids are visiting, they have a few moments where that person with dementia is doing something they enjoy, and they can be freed up maybe to do something that they have to get done.
Well, and the other key is that those things in the Mempix books are age appropriate. Because one of the worst things that you can do is marginalize that individual with dementia and use child's or children's books or children's puzzles or children's activities. Because how many of us have met an individual with dementia who was a ballerina, a chemist, a physician. You know, they've got intense and immense life experiences that we trivialize when we pull out a Sesame Street book or a children's book or a children's puzzle or anything like that. So this is about respect and dignity and meaningful engagement. And it's a great, and if you think about it, um, at some point in your life, you don't need any more slippers, you don't need any more robes, you don't need any more candles or pillows or Afghans. What a great present for the holidays is to give somebody something that means something that they can engage with.
I love that. And the holidays are coming. So, what a
There you
great
go.
idea. Felicia, all of your ideas have been really helpful. The examples you've shared, I think, have really helped us to identify and determine where we might fit in some of these modifications, things to look for, and how to really help support both the person with dementia and the family member on this journey. We so appreciate you taking the time today to join us and share all of your expertise with us. And maybe we'll have you back in the future if you'd like to come back and
Of
share another
course, and
topic.
thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, thank you so much and have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye bye.